Graziano, let's do some. I saw you guys talking about this on SportsCenter this morning. Yeah. If someone said the Vikings are going to win the NFC North, would that be an overreaction?
No, but the question actually was, are the Vikings going to win the NFC, which I think would be an overreaction, and that's what I wrote in the column. But somebody added North. And so get that overreaction off the screen. They're 5-0. Obviously, they're favored right now to win the NFC North. But yeah, I think NFC, that's still an overreaction. You know the last team to start 5-0 and miss the playoffs? The Minnesota Vikings, 2016. So Vikings fans know this isn't over. And again, I think the question.
Jeff, are you buying it? Do you buy them to win the conference at 5-0? I understand the division is one thing. Green Bay hasn't been as good as we thought they would. Candidly, I think Detroit, when it's all said and done, is going to wind up being the best team in the NFC. But you're buying the Vikings at 5-0.
I am. And the reason I'm buying the Vikings, I love the Lions as well. That's going to be the battle of all battles. Being in the division is fantastic. The defense of the Vikings, to me, separates them. They are finding ways to create pressure. They're finding ways to turn the ball over. They're doing all the things that can overcome if your quarterback doesn't have his best day. I think Detroit is in the same situation quarterback-wise. Goff is better than Darnold, I think, or at least on par with them. Detroit's defense, to me, isn't quite as good as the Vikings.
Graziano, let's go to the next one here. If someone were to say Joe Burrow and the Bengals are going to miss the playoffs, would that be an overreaction?
It's not an overreaction. That was a crushing loss for them, emotionally and mathematically, losing to a division rival that they had on the ropes. 1-4 is tough. I mean, I recognize that no one's running away in the AFC outside the Chiefs, but this is a team that's got major problems on defense, and it's going to be very hard for them to fight their way back into this.
Nate, you buying it?
I think that the Bengals don't make the playoffs. It's too tough for them right now, and the problem is their defense. And there's no injury that they're waiting to recover from. There's no free agent that they can go pick up that changes this defense immediately.
Here's the only thing I'll say. They have their schedule coming up now. They play the Giants, then the Browns, then the Eagles, then the Raiders.
They lost to the Patriots.
I understand that. That was week one. Jamar Chase hadn't been there. They look much better offensively right now. Burrow's been as good as anybody the last month or so. I get that the defense is bad. I think they could still make the playoffs.
Can I ask Dan a question? Are you picking the Giants over the Bengals this weekend?
No.
He loves the Giants right now.
Okay. Let's go to the last one. Let's go to the last one, because this is the really good one. If someone were to say Jameis Winston should start for Cleveland at quarterback this week, is that an overreaction?
No, and if Jameis doesn't want to do it, they find somebody else. Like they have Bernie Kosar, Brian Sipe. Like someone else has to start for the Browns at quarterback. It is unbelievable how bad this has been. I mean, I heard all last week is like, well, Deshaun Watson had just played his best game as a Brown. I went and looked it up. His game 2 weeks ago had a 35 QBR, which, to be fair, is his best one of the year.
Yeah, great.
And considerably better than the 8 or whatever he put up on Sunday. But
I don't know how much worse you have to play if you're playing the worst of anyone in football to lose your job. It's pretty bad.
It's unbelievable. And the thing is the defense is fighting. Special teams have played well. You are literally attached your season to a guy who's not playing. Make a move. If you're the Click, you have to make a move. They made a terrible decision letting go of Joe Flacco, whatever. That's spilled milk. But put in somebody that your team can rally, because at some point, the defense and special teams, they're going, hey, why are we showing up if no one else is?
They're showing up because the owner made a decision to pay this guy so much money that you are completely married to him. Can we put B28 up on the screen, please? Okay, so you know I have a passion for sports history and all the rest of that. I think it is almost inarguable, if we could put up B28, please, that the Browns trading for and then paying Deshaun Watson is going to wind up being the worst transaction in the history of football. They gave up 5 draft picks, including 3 first-rounders. They gave him $230 million, all of it guaranteed. His cap hit for the final 2 years of his deal, which, mind you, have not happened yet, is $72 million in each season. To lower it, they would have to sign him to an extension. If they cut him, his dead cap hit for next year would be $172 million. They couldn't pay Ohio State with what is left over in a salary cap, much less an NFL team, if they were to get rid of Deshaun Watson. So you're asking, why don't they move on from him? It is because they absolutely can't. They need to find a miracle way to make this work, because they are stuck.
Yeah, and you show them B-28. That'll really bring it all home. B-28 was nasty. Look, they did everything, right? They brought in a new offensive coordinator in Ken Dorsey. They changed the offense. They thought it would make it better for Deshaun Watson. He's done absolutely nothing since he's been there to elevate himself or anyone else around him, and they have to be growing very frustrated. I don't think they're going to bench him. I don't think they can bench him. I think it's coming probably from the very top. I think you might see news here in the next week or so that maybe Kevin Stefanski's giving up play calling to Dorsey, or, the kinds of moves that teams make to try and address these issues. But the core issue is if this player does not start to play better, they have no chance.
And that's the problem is, I understand the reason why. This is kind of like the sunk cost fallacy.
Yes.
You have paid, not kind of it's the definition of it. Yes, you've paid a lot of money to a player who is not very good. Continuing to put them out there does not make you better.
Thank you.
You need to go ahead and put someone and just take, you're going to take the cap hit.
Yeah.
The wild thing about the fully guaranteed contract is most of the time, quarterback contracts end up being fully guaranteed because back end of the contract costs so much that you have to renegotiate it. But in this situation, you have no flexibility. And this is why they've resisted doing it, because you get in a situation like this, and it doesn't make it better just because you paid a lot for
to keep them on the field.
Yeah, you paid a lot for a car, let's say, and it's not running right. Well, you go get a cheap one that runs, that gets you where to be.
But in order to do so, you have to be willing to admit it was a mistake, and most people, particularly people who have had great success in life, have a very difficult time admitting a mistake of this magnitude.
Well, I mean, it's blatant and it's obvious. And the problem is, and Bill Callahan, who's no longer there as offensive line coach, their offensive line isn't playing as well. They have a lot more issues than just Deshaun. And if he can't help you, get somebody in there that can. If it's Jameis Winston, man, if you're a player in the locker room, I don't care how much money you paid him. Bring in somebody who you think is going to give us a spark and a chance to win.
You're talking about ego when you say that they have a hard time not admitting that they've made a mistake. It's fine. You can blame it on him.
Blitz. Rodgers looks right, throws right, back shoulder, and it may have been intercepted. Stephon Gilmore picks it off.
In a game where you lose by 6, plays like that are exponentially highlighted. 3 turnovers for me is definitely out of character, and I'm disappointed.
So it's time for today's final point, which has us, like most of you, waiting for that tweet from Adam Schefter for the blockbuster that is going to change the course of the entire season. It's going to say something like, sources, Davante Adams has been traded to someone. Adams is the type of player that rarely becomes available and can change a struggling offense for whoever goes out and gets him, which is why I say the Jets need to pounce right now. They were supposed to take a massive step forward this year with Aaron Rodgers back in the fold, but through 5 games, they've scored exactly the same number of points they did last year and have virtually the same yardage per game. Reuniting Rodgers with Adams just might do it. It might be the fuel the Jets need to take off. No player has caught more passes or more touchdowns from Rodgers than Davante has. And in their last 5 years together in Green Bay, the two connected on 52 touchdowns, which was the most by any duo in that span. The Jets are just 1 game back of the Bills, as bad as it has looked. They meet on Monday night. The Bills, by the way, are also in need of a top wide receiver to fill the void left behind by Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen is coming off one of the worst performances we've seen in a long time, completing just 30% of his throws on Sunday. He was 0 for 13 on throws 15 yards down the field. That's the most attempts without a completion on throws like that since we started tracking those numbers in 2006. The Jets are already down a game to the Bills. Our analytics give the Jets just an 18% chance to win the division if they fall to Buffalo on Monday night. Not getting Adams could also not only mean continued struggles on offense, worst case, it could also mean their division rival or one of the other AFC contenders swipe in to take him away before the Jets get a chance to do it. So the bottom line of it is this: the time to make a move, if you're going to make one, is right now. I turn to Dan Graziano, my insider extraordinaire. Where do we stand with regard to the Davante Adams trade possibility?
I think there's a strong feeling around the league that this could be a key week. Like, he hasn't been healthy the last couple of weeks, but I don't think this is the kind of thing the Raiders want to let drag out. They're paying him almost $1 million a week, and if he's not going to play for them, they might as well get him somewhere else so that team can pay him. The Jets, the Jets were in London. That was a different kind of week for them. Perhaps they're back now and can focus a little bit on this. The Saints are the other team that Apparently, he would like to play 4, according to Adam, because his buddy Derek Carr is the quarterback there. They had a Monday night game, so they're just getting into their week. So I think over the next couple of days, there'll be more intense conversations, and it could lead to him being on the move this week or next.
So I guess the obvious question here on behalf of Jet fans everywhere and Bills fans everywhere, regardless of who needs him more, does he put either of those teams over the top? Do the Jets become what the Jets aspired to be by acquiring Davante Adams? Do the Bills?
I think he actually could possibly impact the Bills more than he could the Jets. The Jets' issues, as we talked about this show, are about putting themselves in a better position on third down by winning first and second down. They're terrible at first and second down. So I think Davante Adams does help them a little bit on these third and longs, but he does not address their major issue of protecting Aaron Rodgers and getting them in favorable situations. I do think, however, it's become clear the last 2 weeks for the Bills against the Ravens and against the Texans that they need somebody. They need a playmaker that they can trust. And maybe Coleman grows into that, but he's not that yet. So I think the Bills might be more positively impacted by Adams showing up.
What do you think, Jeff? Does Davante Adams change the calculus in the AFC if he winds up on one of those two teams?
I think he would change it for the Jets for this reason and this reason only. You just saw the last interception that Aaron Rodgers throws.
Yeah.
Williams never even turns his. It's that feel between Adams and Rodgers that I think changed the difference. Let's not forget, they could have won that game. Their defense is going to keep them in a lot of games. I know everybody's been on the fire Salah.
This is the pick you're talking about. Williams isn't even looking.
Williams isn't even. So as you're running, he knows it's going to be a back shoulder throw. Stephon Gilmore obviously knows it's going to be a back shoulder. So that's the difference between Adams and another receiver. It's how the continuity they've played with for years. Now, are either of them what they were 5 years? No, but can they work together to solve some of those issues, especially blitz pickup when the ball is going to be somewhere really quickly? I think that's the part that I would say would help the Jets.
I think that this is intriguing to me, Graziano. You brought it up earlier, and you were with the Steelers this weekend.
I think they're going to be aggressive to try and improve their wide receiver group. They wanted Brandon Ayuk. He ended up wanting to stay in San Francisco once they gave him the deal. I think the Steelers will try as hard as they can. Whether they can get him remains to be seen, but they need help.
Yeah, I mean, I get why you want him to go to the Jets. I think last week my feeling was the Jets was the best place. But when more and more I watch this team, it doesn't feel like Davante Adams is the answer to the problems. I think that he makes the team better, but their major problems don't go away when you add Davante Adams. And maybe the combination is so good that their major problems become irrelevant. But when I watch this game, I'm not thinking like, man, a big-time wide receiver sure would help. I'm like, hey, run the ball would help. Be successful on first down would help. And maybe Davante Adams gives them another option, takes the safety out of the box, makes them a little bit better on first down. But he doesn't seem to be an obvious answer to their issues.
By the way, I mean, the bottom line of it is desperate times call for desperate
You're all
measures.
in for the Jets.
I think it is desperation for sure.